All right, well, let's get started. And I guess, first of all, just welcome to everyone. I'm really excited to have you all here for yet another episode of our live Turnaround Tuesdays, our 2025 new business podcast, where we have no fluff and just real talk about business with some of our experts. So I'm Alexandra, founder and CEO of Cansulta. And for those of you on the line who do not know who we are, I don't know how that's possible and how you found your way here, but Consulta is a global consulting hub, and we connect organizations of all shapes and sizes in all industries to trusted, vetted consultants like Debbie, who are experts in strategy, finance, HR, marketing, technology, and all the things that I can't think of. Unlike big traditional firms, we make top tier expertise accessible, fast, and affordable and flexible. So we started this podcast so that we could move away from some of the more academic podcasts that were a little bit fluffy and a little high level because we wanted to bring you a conversation that was really based in real world strategy and stories so that you can go back to your organization and actually put things into action right away. So every other week, we feature one of our experts and one of our consultants or partners, like Debbie, to talk about practical strategies and actions that you can take to strengthen your business, to change direction, to unlock growth, lots of great things. So, three things that you will walk away with today, so you don't need to take notes. First thing is a guide that we've developed with Debbie, which is a very practical and useful guide to making the most of your IT team. So we will talk a bit about that. You'll be able to download that for free, and we'll send you the information after. We also will invite you to meet with Debbie on your own to talk about your organization and your needs and what she might be able to do for you. And finally, we will have an offer for our exclusive for everyone here today, which is on our business health audit product, which was new for this year, and inviting all of you to take that for a spin with an exclusive kind of discount. So all of that information will be repeated at the end of the session, and we will email it to you as well along with the recording. So today you can just listen in, hopefully enjoy the conversation. Don't worry about taking notes or anything like that. And for those of you who are here with us in Zoom, please feel free to save your questions, and we want you to come ask them. We have saved time at the end of the session. And if and when we can get the LinkedIn Live working, which it looks like, unfortunately, it is probably not going to happen today, but if some of you are streaming on LinkedIn, you can also leave some notes there in the comments, and we will try to tackle them that way. So, without further ado, let's dive in and talk to and about Debbie. So I'm so excited to introduce everyone to Debbie today. Debbie is a seasoned executive and consultant, and she's, excuse me, really known for her ability to transform operations and to unlock the hidden strengths of IT and technical teams. She's actually earned her own title of the IT Whisperer, which I love, and she'll tell you a bit more about that shortly. Debbie's worked across industries from healthcare to higher ed, to manufacturing to technology. So she really helps organizations rethink how they view their IT teams. So not just as a cost center, but as a powerful driver of business advantage. Her career has spanned leadership at major organizations like LabCorp, Canon, SUNY, and she's led large-scale operational turnarounds, streamlined global processes, and helped teams move from reactive to strategic. Today, she is a fractional executive, CEO, CXO, COO, all the chief roles, and she partners with mission-driven organizations to align people, technology, and strategy for growth. It's a really great combination. So, what makes Debbie really unique? Not only does she have a shining personality, but it's her people first approach. She says the biggest challenges in IT are not technical, but human. Her specialty is helping companies improve communication, collaboration, and trust between IT and the rest of the business, turning frustration into alignment and silence into partnership. So today she's going to talk to us about how leaders can unlock this competitive advantage of their IT teams, and what practical steps you can take to shift a mindset and to build and foster strong relationships, and finally to make your IT teams a true ally in your business success. So, without further ado, Debbie, welcome and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the lovely intro. Very kind of you.
So I'm so excited. We have a lot to cover, and I think I've been really looking forward to this episode because it's from my experience, a topic we don't cover much in
Mhm.
business. And there's a lot of focus on strategy and growth and marketing, and those are also important. But IT and the role of IT is so often overlooked. So I hope we're going to have a lot to share with folks today. But before we dive in, I do want to get started with a little bit of an introduction. If you can just tell us, Debbie, a little bit about you and what led you to become this so-called IT whisperer.
Oh, yes. It really started when I started working in corporate America right outside of college. And I worked in a job that was 24/7. We worked with the Securities and Exchange Commission. And I had made this decision of if I wanted to get out of here and I wanted to become something, I needed to really put myself in a place where I was out of my comfort zone. So I had made this decision to change my schedule to work the weekends. So working a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, um, a longer shift. So you're there from like 8 o'clock in the morning to almost 8 o'clock at night. And there's really no staff. So you're kind of in this ghosting situation and you're always having to figure it out. And there's always some high pressure situation and it has to be done now. And the FedEx guy's nowhere to be found. The lights go out. Oh, my computer's in a glitch. These people want to order from Nobu. Like you're juggling so many roles at the same time. And when it came to anything that had to do with our system, which at that time was very man-made and very new,
Hmm.
you'd be like, okay, well, is there somebody? And we used to call it in the back. Like the
Okay.
back was that mythical place where it was dark and it was freezing, and these people were sitting in there with like multiple sweaters and jackets. And somebody would come out all, all bundled up and be like, "What's your problem?" And there just one woman comes to mind. She just had a very high-strung personality. And it was like she'd come over and be like, just all you need to do is turn it off and turn it on. And then she'd run away, and you're like, okay, like I'm afraid of her. But I realized it through time, like, what do you like? I didn't understand what she did. And she was really the person that kept the lights on. What I like to say is she was the person that was wearing all these behind the scene hats that nobody really realized the chaos behind the curtain, the Wizard of
Hmm.
Oz, and nobody really respected her. And she probably had this, high strung attitude because it was so much pressure on her
Yeah.
that nobody really understood. So, in learning a lot of turn it off, turn it on technique, there's more to it than that. And realizing how much of a resource she was, how much she was good at handling things on the go and figuring it out. And I learned a
Yeah.
lot of figure it out. And I took that with me to all my jobs of figure out what every person does to keep the lights on.
Hmm.
So learning all those departments, not just IT, but learning like HR is really important too. And finance is really important and the distribution center is really important.
Yeah.
And we just don't, I felt like there were so many places that those people were just disrespected because they didn't understand what their job was. And they got it done and then they would put it in a pretty bow and gave it to you, but you didn't see what went on behind the chaos.
Yeah.
So I kept taking that from job to job. And when I went into a startup that was outsourcing, and there was the same thing. Like they had no respect for the IT people. It was like somebody's extra job to figure it out. And it took like 6 months for them to give
Hmm.
me a company BlackBerry. And I was standing in front of a location. We were supposed to have a client lunch, and nobody had my number because they were having this security thing and they wanted everybody to only use a corporate phone. So I'm standing there not knowing that the meeting got canceled and nobody could reach me. And I had no access on my phone to get emails or text, or nobody had my personal phone number. So I'm like, what do I do? Do I leave this meeting and go back to the office to figure out that the meeting moved somewhere else or it was canceled? I can't remember at this moment, but either way, it was a detriment. And I went and I screamed at this IT guy of like, this is your fault. You couldn't get me a BlackBerry. This is so stupid. Like, just get me the
No.
phone. And it's like, do you know what I have to do to get that to you? And, sitting with him and having him walk me through, this is a bigger deal than just handing you a phone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're the only person doing this, aren't you? And he's like, yeah. And there's like 100 people that work here. For a small business, it's not a big, doesn't seem like a big deal, but the IT guy that's also a sales guy
Yeah.
and also someone's personal assistant, like there was no respect for his job. And so I became a vocal voice of
Mm.
IT people, and they didn't care. The company went under. So it was like, you didn't care about this person. So I realized so fast in going from startups to startups and then going back to a major corporation of how detailed and important it was to have that IT person. So to get the IT whisperer name, I was at a very high profile college and hospital, and their IT people were just defeated and they were just thrown
Yeah.
projects. Nobody asked them what it took to get that done or their span of how to get it done. And they couldn't communicate. They were defeated and they also were just not great at their communication. They were constantly being shut down.
Mm.
And I sat with them and I sat with them for days of just detailing out what needed. And I understood enough about what they were doing. They were just giving me what they needed and understood. And there was guys that were almost in tears, and
Wow.
they loved Star Wars. So I would kind of use Star Wars as like, hey, if Han Solo showed up, like how would Darth Vader take this? And they were like, oh my God, this is so much fun. So it was able to communicate through a trail. And then they decided that I was their Yoda. So they were like, you're like Yoda. You're here for us and helping us communicate and giving us all this insight on what needs to get done. So somebody had introduced me in a big meeting with upper management. They're like, she's our IT whisperer. We can't live without her. And everyone's like, I love that. You have to run with it. So I kind of just took that with me, and it sort of blossomed. And it is a lot of fun. It's a great conversation piece, especially in networking meetings
Yeah.
of being the IT whisperer. But it has value as well. And I really saw teams flourish from using that frame of mind and giving them some help and insight and a voice.
Yeah.
So that's how I kind of attach myself to those IT groups.
I love that. Yeah, and I'm gonna jump around a little bit from our plan here, but I think what you said, Debbie, about IT teams, kind of being thought of as just keeping the lights on, right? I think for most of us, unfortunately, it's not maybe not fair, but we do tend to think of IT, as you said, of kind of from the tech support perspective, or the geeky nerds in the basement, keeping the website up and uptime, and like dudes just surrounded by cables. I think that's what I think of, which is awful. And I have worked with many IT teams, and I know that that's unfair. But I do think that that concept of, as you said, kind of IT is just keeping the lights on, and then this negative connotation of being a cost center, right? It's like the necessary evil. Oh, okay, like there's the business that we glorify and we prioritize and we focus on, and that's like the real important part. And then it's like, oh, here's IT, kind of like HR. That's a whole other conversation I know we've had. But it's like, oh, these are just the guys who, keep the lights on and like are the necessary evil for the business. So I think a lot of people do share in that, even though we know it's not right. It is what a lot of executives I think have in mind in their perceptions. So why, might seem obvious to some, but like maybe it's not. Why is that incomplete or harmful? But more importantly, what are people missing out? Um, excuse me, what are they missing out on when we have this limited view of IT and its kind of value? So what might leaders and executives here be overlooking when we kind of keep that narrow perspective of an IT team and their
Yeah.
capabilities?
Well, I feel like people shut down at certain things, right? There's the people that they hear finances and having to balance a budget and they just crumble into pieces.
Mm,
And then there's the people when you say technology, and these are the people that are like with their phone, like, I don't know how to use it. And it's like, it's not a dog. You don't need to pet it. Like, relax. It's not as complicated as it needs to be. People shut down as soon as you say technology. And it's the same as leaders in business. They're like, you can deal with that. I don't want to talk about the technology. For me, it was, I can't talk about blood. I worked at Corp for several years. I had to
mm,
talk about blood every day. Like you
mm,
have to learn to deal with it eventually, right? So everybody has their little something. But what's sad is you learn that there's major consulting firms that come in to figure out what you're doing. It's like you don't
mhm,
know what the IT team does. You don't know the technology aspect that they have. You don't know the level of damage control they're doing every day. And you're hiring these high profile consultants to come in to tell you that's the guy that keeps the lights on. You
mm.
think that there's no value. All they do is answer a service now ticket and they run out and they turn your computer off and on. That's not really what's happening. That's what you see. But there's so much going on behind the curtain that you
Yeah.
don't want to look at because you just don't want to take the time to really understand what they're doing. So these are people that are like, we're getting cut, like we're cutting two or three people.
Yeah.
And it's like they have no idea that this guy is constantly changing passwords and this guy is constantly regenerating the system to keep it up going. This guy's taking control of all the cloud storage and moving it around to make sure that there's enough space. And you people, I mean, the organization, you're just abusing them. And they're not respecting of what's going on because they don't know.
Yeah.
So companies are wasting money by not taking time to make time to really learn who these people are. And they are masterminds. They're consistently in trying to damage control, and they're consistently working on keeping the lights on and helping your everyday little problems and wearing multiple hats behind there. And then someone shows up and is like, I have this big project. I want you to change our whole accounting system, and we need it by February, and it's December 15th. So figure it out and get it done. We have to be ready for tax season.
Right.
Like that's just not doesn't work. But this is a consistent theme that I see often. And I see what really it worries me is companies that are smaller, like startups and not-for-profit, that
Yeah.
don't value how important it is to have an IT structure, a technology team that can help you grow,
Mm,
especially in non-for-profit worlds that are trying to raise money. And they can have such wonderful avenues to reach people beyond just knocking on doors or showing up at somebody's doorstep or running a big gala. There's so much technology that could save them, and there's so much technicality of what they need to do on the accounting side that will that usually is that stopgap that drowns them, and they don't realize how much of an investment they can make by just hiring a really smart IT professional.
right. And can you give something? You already mentioned a few, Debbie, right away, but are there some other examples of when you've seen this really make a strong case for involving IT more as a strategic partner? So, whether it's an individual who takes on a task or if it's a larger team where, there's an IT team that wasn't perhaps specifically like mandated with a job, but they've done something and it has had like a really either valuable, well, let's go with the positive first, I guess, really like positive, transformative effect, impact on the business where we might not have thought of, using these people or working with them in that capacity. initially.
Yeah. So the instance that comes to mind first is, the well-known high-profile college and hospital that was just a complete mess. And it was an issue of HR had put a pressure on IT to put together going into Talio, a system for HR. And Talio is very detailed, and there's also restaurant equipment that I equivalent with, which Toast, maybe if people have been in the industry, you will now see it when you go to a restaurant, you'll see Toast. It's very concierge, right? So it's like, do you want this button? Do you want this button? Do you need this? Do you need this? You really have to build the infrastructure of it. And HR is like, I don't want to give you the time to answer these questions. Just figure it out and do it. And it's like, I don't know what you do. Like, I don't know what your specific needs are. And then you have the system that goes live, and they're like, oh, this is whatever, this is fine. And then you have end users that are complaining and not being able to take full advantage of it because
Right.
the system isn't built properly. And in this situation, it was a matter of we have to buy a new license. This doesn't work for us. Do we upgrade or do we just go to a new system? And it was
Mm.
like, you can't, where they were, you can't upgrade. You kind of have to start over because you never did it right to begin with. So you
Mhm.
kind of had to go from the current license to sort of extend it into the new license, and they just again would not help. So they thought the solution was to go into success factors.
Okay.
And I'm like, you can't do it. I refuse to let you do that until you properly let this team do what they need to do and give them the proper time frame. And you can't do this in a month. And so literally sitting with somebody from IT and the head of HR for a few weeks of literally detailing out, workflows and understanding to get it up and running correctly, they then were able to, advocate for a team that consisted of myself and a couple other people to work on these high-end IT projects that became very detailed. And the next project that led to that was a company-wide ID system that was
Mm.
not implemented. So that was a security issue that did have to deal with HR, but it really involved every single person in the company. And for IT to be the vocal point of, hey, company, we need this. This belongs to us. It should belong to us. Let us do it correctly, was their first avenue, like their first debut of, hey, look, we did success factors. We did it accurately. We did it in a good, timely fashion. And now it works specifically to your needs and
Mhm.
everybody's happy. Let's dig deeper of our needs to keep the lights on. Let's make sure we have a full identity project here that is really so important. We don't know who's on campus. We don't know who's in our system. People are multiple because they just like build a new identity because nobody wanted to take the time to really figure it out. And that they really started to shine and they were like, they threw me a party. I'm like, I don't even need a party, but it was so fun to
Wow.
watch them personally come alive and feel needed and wanted, and were able to put a year long calendar of events of projects that they needed, and people were coming to them for advice, and it became like a town hall, and it just kind of blossomed from there. And I'm just so excited to be part of their team and to really see them flourish and build these little personalities. And the guy that was like terrified of his own shadow is like, I talked to the girl in accounting and she's really cute, and oh my gosh, she was so, like all these life things are blossoming, and I'm like, this is fabulous. Like, this is IT is where it's at. Like, come on,
I
these are the
love that. So
greatest
you like
people.
really
Yeah,
transformed the whole kind of culture for the team there. Um,
yeah.
I think you had said earlier too, which I loved, is you help them go from being invisible to being invaluable, and I think that's just such a wonderful way to capture kind of this work. And I think we wish that every organization, right, could have that experience for all their teams, not just for IT, but it's a particular challenge for IT teams who are kind of coming from this lesser than position to begin with. I'm curious, Debbie, that was such a great story, and I'm like so happy for you and for them how that went. I'm again going off script here a bit, but I'm curious, like how was that sustained, or has it been? Has that kind of continued and perpetuated in their culture now that some time has passed? Or have they kind of fallen back to kind of old habits?
That is an excellent question. And I did get to speak to some of them who I had reached out, when we started working together. I'm like, I'm really hoping that you could, give me a nice recommendation here. In less than an hour, like five of them were like, what do you need? What can what can we do? So
Right.
I was just like, I thank you, Alex, for giving me that opportunity to follow up with them. From what I understand, there was a regime change within their department, which was on more of I would say consultant side, what I would consider, which was I was a consultant there, consider that side that was not prepared for
Yeah.
the fame of it, so to say. And they were very negative about taking in the work. And so they sort of overthrew that side and were able to build their own management of that, of
Hmm.
people that really made sense for them. And some of them themselves went to that side, which I think was really positive. So as far as I know, and the feedback I got is they were really flourishing and really happy with where they were. And yeah, all of them are still there. I think there was one guy that left, and I don't remember, but the majority of them were still there, really excited about what they were doing. So it was
Oh,
really
good.
good to
Yeah.
see them still flourishing in that fun personality. So
I'm so happy to hear that. That's really wonderful. Because of course, like it's great to hear the kind of stories of transformation and positive impact. But of course, I'm sure for all of us in our work, we want to know that that is hopefully lasting, right? Um, so that's really nice to hear. And hopefully an inspirational model for others as well, that if you do put the time in your team, in your organization, into kind of right seeing this transition from IT being less of the order takers and the keeping the lights on, and work with them to become these allies and strategic partners. Obviously we hope that that is sustainable and it's a permanent long-term change for everyone's benefit. So I'm really happy to hear that, actually.
thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I know you have lots of stories and examples, but I just want to be cautious of the time too. So I'm gonna, jump around a little bit. Debbie, you prepared for us, which I think is wonderful. What I mentioned earlier that will be available to everyone in the guide, which is a guide for how to what you've called it here, the 90-day IT partnership blueprint. I love that. So it's how to, right? I love this idea. So, how to go from thinking of your IT team as just a cost center to being a competitive advantage. 90 days for this IT partnership. And in there, Debbie, you've identified 3 phases and 5 steps each. So 15 steps to take in this 3-month period to kind of see that happen, which I think is excellent. And again, we'll share this with everyone after as well, so they can also kind of worked on it. I guess I just want, like when we start thinking of all these actions to take and like, okay, how to get started, where do we start? So like for those joining us today who are thinking hopefully about applying this in their own businesses, big or small. Um, yeah, what would you do first if you think, okay, I want to commit my organization and my team, my company, to transforming how we think of IT and their role within the company? Where do I start?
Yeah. So I heard two really great statements within the past week that I think are so relevant here. Um, One is going back to companies hiring these big, high-profile consulting firms to figure out what these departments do because they don't know. And it's like, that's embarrassing. You should be embarrassed of yourself to do that. And also hearing that there's this big problem now with leadership, and people are just like in these departments are defeated and are like, what can I really lead when I'm being shut down? Nobody's listening to me. They're dictating to me. Like, if I'm the leader of this IT department and I have no voice, like, why am I here? So it's sort of in this like defeated mindset. And my favorite piece that I heard this week is the answers are always in the building, right? So
Mm,
I go to think of like, you think of sort of extremes of personalities within the IT department. And you think of like somebody like an Elon Musk that's like, I'm just going to build a rocket ship and like, let's just take a bunch of people and see what happens here. Let's see if we can get to the moon. And, doing all these things behind the scenes that it's like, yeah, I just can figure that out. No big deal. And then you have the guy that, doesn't want to talk to anybody, is in the data center, monitoring everything. And, he's a big gamer. Let's just say, like, these two people are stuck in an elevator. And,
okay.
you got the person that's like, I want to, build something new and exciting. And the other guy has the answers, but no, these two people don't talk.
Mm,
So,
mm,
putting all these minds together, kind of like the Breakfast Club, like, okay, it's not detention, but we're going to put you all together in some space and have fun with it, have them have a voice and have them, they're the eyes and ears of the company. Like they touch almost everybody's desk. They're walking through all the floors and they know what's going on and they know who's overusing storage and they know who the people that have the most tickets. And there's an epidemic going on in every company. They know what it is. And the
mm.
leadership going, I don't know, somebody else has to come in from the outside and figure it out for me. No, like the answers are right there. The answers are in the building. So why don't you get your team together, talk about all your challenges, talk about all your strengths and weaknesses, and talk about how can we make this opportunity?
Yeah.
And when you're really nourishing your team, you're building leaders. Like all of
Mm.
those people are probably stronger leaders than mostly everybody else sitting out on the floor that calls themselves a leader and has fancy desk that's made out of cardboard with a fake window. So these people know what's going on. They understand what needs to be happen next, and they're silenced. And it's like, no, 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 no. We are the people that keep the lights on. Like, let's build that. And I think it just, can use it may be an outside person that does encouragement. I mean, I try to do a lot of that and come in and build teams and be like, you're the best people that are here, and I'm going to tell you why. Some people will need to go and some people will need to stay. And some, it's a natural thing that happens. But what the way that I like to look at it is it's not an asset. It's it's a plus when someone leaves because the way I build my teams and how I encourage these groups to build their teams is we're not sending you on the street, we're sending you where your value is.
Mm,
So maybe your value is selling our systems because you know it better than anybody. Maybe your value is to be on the HR side because you've done all this work with the HR systems and now you've done all the SOPs. You are a key person for this empty role. There's
mm,
so many directions where somebody is the right fit, and sometimes that department is not the right place. But learning who your team is and where your value is and how you could build each other
yeah.
and how you could go to leadership and be like, hey, we need these projects to happen and this is why, and be able to talk to it instead of waiting for somebody to come and dictate to you something that they don't need. And I think it's just that empowerment of you guys are valuable and this is why, and working through them. The 90 days is, you can get a lot of it done sooner than that, but it's just a map out of really being cohesive as a team and building each other as a team and being able to thrive because you most likely are the smartest people that are keeping the lights on. So
I love that. And so how do we do that, Debbie? Because I think you mentioned I love the, Elon Musk and then and then, the data analysts like stuck in an elevator together. I love that idea. Um, so I think I'm sure that everybody recognizes, of course, that, fostering that relationship between teams and staff is so important, and building the communication and the collaboration. Um, and that's really what's going to make the difference or not, and if this is successful. What can people do to build that trust? Like, how do you foster those relationships and make sure that Elon does run into, Mr. and Madam Analyst in the elevator? How does that happen?
Um, I think it starts with a group meeting and honesty from their leader of like, hey, we're down in the dumps. We're not performing the way we should. People are just annoyed to be here, or just everybody sort of has a bad attitude. And sometimes there's something specific that had happened and they're there. And really being vulnerable of, we need to turn this around. We really need to come together as a team and turn this around. And this is how I want to do it. I want everybody to really tell me what they think and feel about our department, what we think about the company. And I want to then turn it around into how we can make it better. I did for a company that leadership thought we're going to do this culture change and it's going to be so fabulous. And we're going to give you we want our customers to have world-class service.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, did you ever have lunch in a third world country? Like that's world class, right? So, like tell me what world class means to you. Like, what does that mean? Because everybody's version, if you're talking about the whole world, everybody's version of
Mm,
world class looks different. And you made, upper management, you made this whole list. Go to every department and ask them to name one thing on this list
mm,
that you made. And what does world class mean? Everybody's answer was completely different.
right.
Everybody's answer. So I got all these leaders in a room and they're like, I don't understand. I don't understand why this doesn't work. I'm like, you don't even know what's on the list. I go, you tell me what. I made a huge board and I'm like, gave everybody a different color marker. I'm like, I want you to have one word that describes why you're still here and why you want to continue to work here.
Wow.
And everybody put something on it. And we made it into a big poster and we posted it in all the departments and all the annex buildings and places of the corporation that were there. And it lit up. It was like, I want
Wow.
to work here because, and giving them markers, adding things, and I love to work here because of this, and just putting exclamation points next to the things that were already there. And that is sort of something that, you feel what your department's going through. That's something so simple you could do right there of like, this is where we are right now, but this is why we're still here. This is how we got in the door, and this is why we want to stay here. And that is such a key point of, I feel like I'm part of the big picture. I
Yeah.
feel like I am here to contribute. Then you start going into that of like, well, what is it that that you feel is you're thriving in and you're not bringing that to the table? What is this company lacking? And really, those ideas just spill out of people. And if you keep it as a continued, either a weekly meeting, I think like you should do like a kickoff of, maybe like a 2 day, or maybe you only have time for one day. As a team, taking time to make time to build the people and really understand what their strengths are and let them run it. Let them be like, I want to take this project on. Can I do it? Do it. Let's build a team and let people, sometimes it might work to, you have to really understand your group. You could be strategic of people wanting, you want to put people together because you'd like to see that chemistry happen.
Mm,
But sometimes it's really good to have people sign up themselves. And they have to, with criteria of like, you have to work with people that you don't know, or people that you just don't, you wouldn't work together currently.
right.
Uh, those groups just come together and flourish. And again, it's such wonderful. It's not chaos. I want to say like beautiful chaos, but it feels like it. But once you really get people pumped up and on board of like, yeah, I am really good at what I do. I'm sick of being told that I'm not and I don't have value. I build this system. I keep these lights on every day. I answer all your turn your computer off on service now requests, and I do it and I get it done. And taking that attitude and really building it and educating the company of what we do, why. This is what tips and tricks of how to avoid all these tickets going in. It really does flourish, and it really is beautiful to watch teams grow.
I love that idea of just helping the teams kind of demonstrate their value,
Yeah.
right? And kind of make proof of it. And then it would have that kind of contagious effect. I think what you're describing to me sounds really exciting because you might have to do a little more heavy lifting in the beginning, right? And kind of like nudge it along. Like you
Yeah.
said, force people together, ask them the question, why are you here? What do you do? And it's probably a bit challenging and a little forced in the beginning, but then if you have this wonderful impact that you've described where people start getting excited and then it becomes more habitual, it becomes more organic, all of a sudden, hopefully, they're like naturally starting to kind of show their value and their interest. That sounds really positive.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I love to like use a theme. Like I think movies are great because everybody can, watch 2 hours of a movie or maybe a short series that everybody can relate to. And, think of something fun, like think of Stranger Things, right? Almost everybody has seen it or heard about it, right? And it's been dragged out so long that at this point, I mean, you should know about it. But think about it. It's like a bunch of people that you would never expect to be sitting together at a table are all together for a common good and they don't have a choice. Like it's like we have to keep ourselves alive. We have to do this and we're saving our friends and saving the community and the world. But it kind of is, right? You think about it, it's like how much fun is it to be like, "Oh, they're talking. Oh, I love this." Because they are getting it done. And like the more you see them work together, the more they want to work together. And the
Yeah,
more they're like, I care about these people, I care about the project, and it's working, and we're not even thinking about how much fun we're having at the same time.
I love that. I
You're
think
you're
that's a
always
great
fighting a
approach.
demon, right? So like have fun with it.
And so I guess to bring it back a little bit to more of the traditional measurable kind of business side as well. I think seeing these teams emerge and just them being so much more involved and excited, for sure that has a positive impact on the business. Absolutely. But for those who are a little bit, more binary and like evidence-based, I'm sure you've been in this situation before when I've managed IT teams, for example, like we do tend to be very focused on kind of the by the book
Mhm.
metrics and KPIs, right? It's, all about ticket turnarounds and uptime and kind of measurable impact there. How do you think we can measure the positive change and impact of this more strategic relationship? So that, we can all look back in our quarterly reports and our annual kind of reflections and see, yeah, that really was worth that change and that time and that effort from all of the teams. So how else can we see the impact of this kind of shift that you've been talking about?
Yeah, so I mean, every company kind of values things in different ways. And, the past few years, maybe even longer than that, you're always hearing, what's the bottom line? Let's push revenue. And people are like, I
Yeah,
don't care how you get it
yeah,
done, and wasting money all over the place. Now that we're in a place where economy isn't as thriving as much as it is, there's tons of jobs that are not vacant. There's a ton of unemployment people, and there are jobs where people are like suffocating, like, you can't let me go, you can't let me go. So there's like that culture that's in there. But using the KPIs and everything that you have mentioned to measure it and really show a difference of taking time to make time, right? We educate you. We become a core centered group, right? We're the now pushing the revenue or whatever the revenue looks like for you, because
yeah.
now revenue is like a scary concept because people are not making the revenue that they used to. So it's like, let's take a different focus somewhere else. So using that as your opportunity of, hey, as an IT department, these are what our KPIs have been doing. But since we've been working on these projects, we have new technology, and perhaps educating people on exactly how to use the systems that they need, exactly how to use the programs. Why does my computer keep doing this? Like doing these little educational avenues for people. Let's show you how many, I just say service now because I've used it so much. How many ServiceNow tickets are reduced? How much more are we using these systems to the fullest? How much are we seeing our return on our investment based on lack of errors? So
Mm,
being able to turn those KPIs around to show, let's see how this difference has made for everybody, because this touches everybody. And going back to that company-wide ID system, finding like a couple hundred people, most likely more, I'm just being kind, of people that are not on payroll, not supposed to be on campus, not supposed to be anywhere in your system or in your system. How is that helping your security? And how is that helping your internal conversations? And it could be leaks of a product, that hasn't come out yet to our competitors. Like, so you really
mm.
can use those KPIs as your advantage. And it's also, most people don't know what KPIs you're holding. So this is kind of new information to them. Let that be the driver to keep the lights on, and let that be the driver for the company to recognize we need these as this team as a strategic partner for our growth. And ignoring what they're doing is really just poor on our side to not be growing internally so we can be at a higher revenue and be back to where we were and not just a cost center.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I think too often, as you said, we all tend to be, of course, revenue focused. Um, kind of the reality, the business reality, but I think that's where even in nonprofits, right? Like that's where everybody's head does tend to go. And sometimes that does mean that we neglect to think about the positive side effects. As you said, could be security,
Mhm.
could be mitigating risks, it could be having insight, as you said, into an aspect that's a differentiator regarding the competition, something that's giving us a leg up that we might not have thought of before, and so like that kind of untapped resource component.
Yeah, the pushing people to perform more doesn't work anymore. And
Mm,
so many people are in this burnout, and taking that time to really learn your team and what the strengths are, because there's probably so much more strength than weakness, and using everybody where they belong.
right.
And you will see a difference. And you'll also see people leaving work happy. And I think that's so important. Like, you should
Mm.
leave work with a smile on your face and not, oh, I have to come back tomorrow. Not getting on that train or getting in your car miserable. Changing somebody's work life changes and improves their personal life. And that makes everybody happy. Like, that works for everybody. So I think it's just so important to really nourish your team and really take that time. You'll will see a difference in your P&Ls and revenue, and it will be a big difference for everybody all around.
I love that. I have two questions for you, and they're similar, so I'm not sure. I'll leave it to you.
Okay.
Um, and then we'll see if we have a couple questions from the audience here as well. I see some coming in. Thank you. Um, I guess so. Yeah, I'll leave my last one for the very end. Um, for those of us, and well, I shouldn't say us. I don't want to be one of them, but for companies and teams that are still kind of stuck as seeing the IT as you said, keeping the lights on and kind of as the nerds in the basement. What is what is the biggest mindset shift that they need to make?
Well, the biggest mind shift for the IT
Yeah,
internal,
for
yeah.
the like for the teams here, like for the leaders here, recognizing that like if we still think about IT as the
Mhm.
nerds in the basement, what do we need to
Mhm.
change about ourselves and our own kind of mindset and philosophy to be able to see this positive transition?
Yeah, so I think of it is a true mindset. It could be a true ego as well, of really seeing where value is. And I always say, always do something good when no one's looking, because there's always something big that comes out of it. So you're always in a constant place of being hidden behind the curtain, and you're doing good things for the company that nobody sees, right? So you're already in that seat. And once you realize how much value you have and really make that list of what did I accomplish today? Okay, let's just say it's the guy that takes all the calls and runs out to your department to do the same problem that you have like 17 times a week because you don't want to listen. And how can I have fun with that? Like how I'm here for 8 hours and probably more. And how can I just make my day better?
Mm,
One is, yes, you have to see your value, but at the same time, you walk outside, you could be like, sit in front of the mirror, like, I'm so pretty, I'm wonderful, do all your affirmations. You walk outside and then someone's like, "Yes, I should be at work." Ah! And how can you have fun with that? And I always think of my friend John because he was always the jokester of the group that you were like, all right, I just need some of him. So I'm going to give him a little credit. And I always say, and if somebody has that, right, in their life, like the John, the guy that just like cracks the joke and makes you really like, all right, like let's lighten the
yeah.
load here and just have fun with it. Be like, and I don't say do this verbatim, but the guy that has the 17th time, ticket, at the end of the week, be like, you know what, Chad? I just want to give you the award for the most ServiceNow tickets of the week. This is from the IT team. And thank you for your contribution. And you've been great. Like have fun with it. And maybe, you have to also gauge like, the bandwidth of personalities that you're working with. But I mean, I've been in some serious high pressure situations and I've done stuff like that. And after a while, like you're both just angry and it's like, I'd like to give you the award for the most tickets of the week. And I'd like to thank you for. So I think it's really changing your everyday mindset and do something that makes you laugh, that eventually will make other people laugh, and then really realize I am having fun here. And you know what? I am giving value. I am doing a lot of work where people don't see how good it is. But if I show the little things through a bit of humor or for a bit of fun, people will respect me more, and that will make me smile when I walk out of here and want to come back in here the next day. So I think that hit on you what you were asking.
Oh, I think so. I think so.
Okay.
I love it. And that's it.
Okay.
I have to find every John in the group that doesn't sound right, but I think it's understood. I love that. I want to just quickly take a quick question. I know we're up on time, so we will keep going for just a few more minutes. But for those of you who do have to jump out, I just want to thank you for joining us. And Debbie, obviously, thank you so much as well.
Thank you.
And everybody, yeah, you can watch your email if you registered, hopefully. Watch your email for the links to the guides and the gifts that we mentioned so that you can make sure to pick those up and hopefully start to benefit from rolling out some of Debbie's tips in your own companies. So I want to jump over here to an excellent question from Trevor. Thank you, because we would be remiss in November 2025 to not talk about AI. So an excellent question, Trevor. Um, Debbie, how do you see AI integration into a company affecting this relationship dynamic with management?
Yeah. Well, I think as much as we think AI is going to take over the world by tomorrow and it's going to give us all the answers, go ask it to try to help you put together a PowerPoint presentation and see how messy it is. If people don't know how to do what they're doing and they don't know how to ask for it properly, AI can only give them what they ask for. So I think integrations, people think are helpful, somebody has to know how to use it. Somebody know how to use it properly. And I don't know if you have like a specific AI system that you're talking about. I'm just looking at it in general
I
terms
think
of how
just in
frustrated
general,
have
yeah.
people been with just simple chat GBT prompts and any of the other designer AI apps that are out there right now. We have to, as human beings, learn how to use it. And it's still pretty new to us, and as sophisticated as it is, it can't like make me a pizza and give me a manicure at the same time. But eventually it will. And, when we think it's going to answer our problems, especially in work, some quick answers it could, but doing more complex thing that take you away from what you're doing, you'll see, like I've been sitting here for 4 hours fighting with a robot and I could have just done it myself. So I think that realization of talking to leadership of what is it that you really think you're going to accomplish at this stage? Is it sophisticated enough that it can take over people's jobs? But is it also going to create five more jobs for somebody to run this system or whatever it's programmed to do? And I think leaders are looking at it as, oh, that's going to solve my problem, save me all this money. And it's not. And it's being shown on and on. I think Amazon had just rid of a whole bunch of people
Mhm.
in some of their
Yep.
deport systems. And it's like, it's not really, you talk to some of these centers, it's not, there's more people running it than people's jobs are going to shift, I think is what it's trying to say. And you just have to be prepared for what the shift looks like because you're taking jobs away from people, but are you creating new jobs for people?
Right.
And I think there's too much, let's just put these people on the street and let them figure it out instead of, well, we should have really thought about that and kept them on board. And there's a new, different way of what their job looks like now that we have integrated this AI technology.
Absolutely. I think that definitely is where the conversation seems to be shifting.
Yeah.
And as you said, it's really like hopefully not a question of replacing. One of our previous guests, Nikhil, that was one of his topics as well. So I think that is definitely the trend we're looking at, right? Is not so much eliminating, hopefully, eliminating jobs, but more shifting the value, which I think is so much of the theme of what you've talked to us about today, is right finding the value of these teams and kind of better placing people, right,
Mhm.
for success and for impact. I
Yeah.
just want to point out a great so there's some comments in the chat here. Um, and just to, I'll steal the credit a little bit from Owen, just to share. I think he's not able to join live, to speak live to this point, but just mentioning the correlation between IT teams and then quality, obviously very closely related.
Mhm.
Um, so I think that's a really interesting notes. Owen, I hope it's okay. I'll probably just share. Debbie, I don't know if you can see the chat, but Owen said that he's also been told that quality management teams are seen by production and sales as the nerds in the back room. And that was interesting. But also that they also as roadblocks to their objectives and the concept of world class, as you mentioned, being different for everyone, that in manufacturing they have what WCM, which I'm embarrassed to say acronym central here. Someone's going to have to help me. Just world class manufacturing. I
Management.
hope
Yeah,
that's
that's what
right.
I was going to say. Yeah.
Okay, so like the concept of world class, I
Yeah.
guess, being used as that benchmark. You can see
Yeah.
why Owen is an expert in quality and not me. But having that standardization as well instead of procedures
Yeah.
across the company and across the organization. But that effectively, Owen's just mentioning the correlation to quality teams who also have the responsibility for keeping the lights on, for
Hmm.
reliability and product. So
Very true.
just a great point, Owen. Thank you. I'm sorry that I hope I didn't butcher your comments too much, but it's great to see the relationship and the similarities between IT and quality, and obviously they closely work together as well, depending on the industry and the organization. So really great to see kind of how this kind of philosophy and approach just applies to these teams as well.
Yes.
All right. I guess we are at time. I'm going to ask my very, very last question, Debbie, and then we will sign off and hopefully see everyone in the next session. This is the last kind of evil takeaway question. For everyone, everyone who's here today, if they, again, it's a bit similar, but if they could action one thing And I know we have this guide for everyone for the 30 days, sorry, the 90 days, 3 months. But if they really wanted to tomorrow start to unlock this mysterious power of their IT teams that they've been neglecting, what would that action be? What can everyone do right away?
I will give you like the simplest thing in the world is show up and smile and show up and
Okay.
every time something gets you agitated, just smile through it and be like, I have the answer. I know I have the answer. And they picked me because I could fix it. And be really proud of yourself for that because you're getting beat up and you don't deserve it. And you should be proud of yourself for what you do. And you keep showing up, and that should make you smile. But every time you do something, you are helping and being part of the big picture. So just smile because it's really contagious and it really helps make your day go through, and you will get recognized and people will start to talk to you, and there's opportunity to grow and show what you're talk about the bigger projects you want to work on and get that cycle started.
I love it. That was great. I totally unexpected. I love that. I love that that's one thing we won't find in the guide, I don't think. But beauty and simplicity there. So thank you, Debbie. Fantastic.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I think that about does it for today. I just again want to thank you so much, Debbie, for sharing your stories with us and these tips and experience that way, just a different perspective to look at how to work with our IT teams, for the greater good in business. And again, a quick reminder for everyone that the guide, Debbie's guide, the IT partnership blueprint will be available for you probably tomorrow. We're just finalizing that, but the guide will be available for you. Again, we invite you to book some time with Debbie for free on our site so that you can talk to her about your own company and how you might kind of better leverage your IT teams and others. And finally, again, the access to our business health audit service will be included in that message as well. And we hope some of you would take that for a test drive. It's a pretty exciting way to take a different look at your company, kind of get a report card along with the help of one of our consultants on kind of where you're at and what you need to work on to improve the overall health of your business. So all that's coming by email. And thank you so much for spending your lunch hour with us, or depending on what time it is, maybe it's a different meal. I'm not sure. And hope we see you again in 2 weeks, where we will be talking with Craig about automation for growth. So all these topics are closely related and complementary, and I hope you'll join us then to talk about that. Other than that, wishing you all an excellent rest of your day, week, and an excellent turnaround Tuesday. Hopefully, you go off and make some positive change in your companies. So, thanks so much again, and good to see you. Thanks,
And
everyone.
also happy today's Veterans Day here in the
Oh,
States. I know you call it something different in Canada.
Debbie, thank you so much. I completely forgot. We actually had planned on starting the session with that mentioned today. That's it. Here in Canada, it is Remembrance Day, in the States Veterans Day. And we did want to take a minute. Thank you so much, Debbie, for reminding me to really appreciate and honor the veterans and all the on both sides of the border who've really given so much, and to not forget the contributions of all the service folks. So thank you, Debbie, for reminding me. That was something we definitely did want to mention in the
We
beginning.
we did it.
That's great. So appreciate that. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.